speech. There's absolutely going to be a Fed coin. There's going to be a co-opted version of cryptocurrency that they will put in place. But that shouldn't scare everybody away from every single cryptocurrency, because there are literally thousands of them that they cannot control. So the thing is, it's like Pandora's out of the box. Let's say they try to say, okay, well, Bitcoin's going to now be the official cryptocurrency of the IMF or something. Well, then we're just going to switch to the next one. And there's literally...
Going. But they're always in control of all this. That's what gets scary about it.
And I do think it's scary, and we may one thing I tell people is this, because some people are like, no, I prefer gold and silver, I prefer crypto. But if the shit hits the fan, I can't eat gold or crypto, so I also have seeds and supplies. Because I do think things like practical items in those needs will be useful for trading, for
prepping stuff.
And I try to not come from that standpoint, because of course we know there's a lot of propaganda, doomsday preppers, for example, right? But what I was just telling Leah a moment ago, and I forgot to mention this in the talk, is that every single one of our ancestors survived and got us here by thinking about the future, by planning ahead. Now we have been propaganda to think that's you must be a prepper, zombie apocalypse kind of thing. My grandma lives on a farm. She's grown up on her farm in Kentucky. And when I visit her, she's still doing what she's done since she was a little girl. Every week she goes out to the garden, she harvests what she has, she takes it inside, pulls out her pressure canner, cans a bunch of vegetables, takes them down to the cellar, and puts them away. They bale hay for the winter so that when the winter comes and kills all the grass, the cows can survive. It's the way we have survived. There's nothing crazy about thinking, what am I going to do for my family if there's a hurricane, if there's an economic, it's being smart. They want us to believe it's some stupid, silly, you're a prepper, you're a crazy person.
What about Ubuntu communities or things that are self-sustainable? I would love to be a part of is that something?
I've definitely worked a lot with the Ubuntu people. Yeah. They're pretty heavily in Minnesota, Twin Cities. There's a lot of them there. There's a lot of them in Colorado. And we definitely have some overlap. There are some issues I would take with the way they organize. Yeah. But as far as... So let me just explain this to you. The trilogy, this book is considered to be the mind, or the body, right? So this talks about everything from what is anarchism, what is spirituality, what are psychedelics, meditation, flotation tanks, healing. It talks about my personal journey, talks about solitude, talks about all that. It's a conversation started, a big conversation, right? This one we consider to be the heart, because it's the emotional empowerment. The essays start with you and your personal relationship, then you and your family and your friends, and then you with the relationship with the world at large. And then it's got meditation exercises, positive affirmations, nonviolent communication. This one, which is the conclusion of the trilogy, is we consider this to be the mind. This is the more practical, philosophical stuff, like how do we organize? What do we think about property? What about environment? How would we organize these communities without government? It is the how to put the ideas in action. And in this book, we basically say that by 2020, my plan is to launch an intentional community based around these principles. And this pyramid sort of reflects the values. So you have sovereignty of the individual, which is self-ownership, and all that entails. That it's wrong for me to use force and violence against other people because you own yourself, and you can live how you choose as long as you're not using force or violence against me. Mindfulness, this is meditation, this is all the different healing modalities, right? Permagora, which is the combination of permaculture and agorism. So that's about how we apply these concepts to our agriculture and working with the planet. Combining that with the philosophies of agorism and counter-economics, which I explain in that, which is a chapter from here, leads to what we call the conscious agora. And the agora is a term from ancient Greek which meant the marketplace, the place where people came together to exchange goods, ideas, to come together as community. That's what we're pushing. So my plan is basically, and what these tours have kind of been, is research and development. I'm meeting all these different people, I'm learning from people, I'm visiting communities that are much further along than I am, and we're also at places where we're helping them build the very first garden in their community. So I'm learning kind of the full spectrum, and I probably will do one more tour next year that's going to be a lot more scaled down and focus on areas where there's a lot of activity, or vice versa, where there are people who are I'm the only one in my community and I need help getting started, and spend 2 or 3 days in each place. So make this a longer tour that's only maybe 20, 25 cities. Where are the hotbeds of activity? Let's go there, let's spend time with them and learn from them, or where people need help getting started. And then by 2020, my plan is to launch this community and basically to say to people, okay, here comes the election, right? If you want to vote, you want to participate in that system, that's fine. While you do that, we're going to start building this community, and we'll see which one provides more value, right? Or at least tell people, hey, if you need to vote, go vote, but also plant a garden, plant some seeds, and see which one is going to be more rewarding to you, what's going to bring value into your life, right? So I am headed in that direction of trying to launch these sustainable communities. Increasingly, more and more, I'm thinking less and less about staying in the U.S., to be quite honest. I just don't, I won't say publicly, but I just think that, I think that it's, unlike, like I said about the 5G grid and all that kind of stuff, I think we're at a point where things are moving very fast, and I don't have much optimism anymore. I have optimism and hope in each of us, like as individuals, but we're surrounded by masses that are indoctrinated very heavily, and the activist movements that still exist are heavily divided. I mean, we've never seen the fracture that exists now. There's no more unity in any of these movements. There's people fighting over like, oh, well, we believe in QAnon, or we believe in this, or Trump's a good guy, or, there's so much separation, and it's difficult for me to really see a point where there's going to be a unifying again. So my goal is basically keep spreading the messages I believe in. I'm trying to get in a financial position where I can launch this intentional community, and I've already had people say, hey, we have land ready, come work with us in different places. So I figure that wherever the universe wants me to be, whether it's in the United States or outside the United States, if I do leave, it's not because I'm giving up. Like, if anything, I see myself in the future probably helping participate in the gray and black markets, funneling supplies in and out, people in and out, information, like whatever it gets to, like, because I don't think, I study historical movements and radical movements, and there are a lot of people who saw the writing on the wall, and they got out ahead of time. They saw that their country was becoming totalitarian, and they left. They chose, or it was unsafe for them, right? And maybe later things calm down and they come back and things are fine, right? But they stayed alive is the point, so they can continue to propagate the message. That's my goal. You know what I mean? I'm not going down in the first round of people that get, because and I know that I can speak among you guys without sounding too crazy, but these are the realities that we're dealing with. I mean, they are not slowing down by any means. There's, if you look right now, just do a search right now. For this, you can use Google. Use Google to search Civil War, right? You will find every single mainstream press outlet and even a lot of the alternative media getting caught up in this. Is a civil war on the horizon? Is America about to hit a civil war? They're pushing this mentality. They want to sow seeds of division and to believe that we're all about to just rip each other apart. I believe it's heavily manufactured and hyped up, but there are those who are getting sucked into that division, and I just honestly don't have a lot of hope for I think we're at this midterm elections right now. They're ramping up their voting propaganda right now. They're telling honestly, most of us think that's why they purged us, because the elections are coming up. We're about to be feeding people anti-state propaganda, telling them, hey, these parties are full of shit, this and that. So they get rid of us right before the elections, so we can't affect the elections and we can't influence people. I think that's definitely by design, and we are only going to see this ramp up as we get closer to the next presidential election. Whether that means Trump stays or they bring in some other puppet, it doesn't matter. But definitely, I think things are going to ramp up as we get closer to that. And it just doesn't give me much hope that, I feel like I'm going to invest my time, energy, and money to build a community, and then I'm going to be surrounded by, nonsense. It just doesn't sound very safe to me, you know what I mean? And I'm at the point where I'm like, I got to start thinking about my future, if I'm ever going to have kids, or just these sort of things. And I mean, we can talk about these ideas, we can think about them all day, but like I said in the talk, it's time for us to start taking realistic action.